are back again, and this is going to be a really quick and simple one. This is what they call the locking rod assembly. So this is pretty much with all the vehicles that can be created from all these different pieces. This particular section, aside from the chassis, this locking rod is also used for all of the other style vehicles in this design, excluding, and I believe they say excluding the F1 car. So if you're to create, if you wanted one of every single vehicle in this little package, you'd be creating multiple chassis. So you'd create, because there's 7 cars, you'd create 7 different chassis, and then you'd create 6 of these locking assembly rods. So what is the locking assembly rod? Well, from what I can see in this little picture here, it looks like it is the front bumper bar and a big long dowel piece that runs down through the center of that chassis, holding everything together in place. So we're going to just do basically a simple video of this one. Now, again, this is created, if you're in the workshop, you would need multiple pieces of wood to make this. If you were going to 3D print it, you could probably just create this as one complete item or part, and then just 3D print it as one solid part. I want to make this, again, like I said, I want to make this as though you are going to go into some sort of workshop or shed, and you're going to get these pieces of timber and you're going to make it and build it. So there are a few components to this front bumper. So let's see what we can make. Who knows? So let's do it. The first bit would be the big long piece of dowel. That's the bit that's going to run right through the chassis, hold everything together. So that's a really easy part. So let's create a sketch. Let's go to the sketch button. Let's find the front plane. Get our circle tool, because a dowel is just simply a piece of round rod. Let's draw a circle, smart dimension it. Now, their dowel diameter is 1/4 of an inch. For us, if I've converted that, I'm going to say it's approximately 6 millimeters. And I know 6 millimeters is generally a size of dowel that you can get from like your local hardware stores. And they have this dowel. Now, this is what's frustrating, because they actually have, if I show you this picture, I should just scan it and show you, but if I show you this picture, you'll see the dotted line showing the dowel actually goes into that front bar, but they've just given it one dimension shy of it. So we're kind of needing to add that little bit of thickness to it. So that front timber plate is going to be 6 millimeters thick. We're going to make this dowel length. Let's go let's make it 150 millimeters. So let's go features, extruded boss base, 150, press enter. The beautiful thing about all of this in CAD, before we go into a workshop, when we assemble it all together at the end of the day, if things don't line up properly, we can modify them, we can change the dimensions before we actually do our dimension drawings and go into the workshop. So anyway, there's our piece of dowel. Now I'm going to save this, so file, save to this PC. I'm not under the chassis anymore. Okay, so wherever you've started saving your transforming toys folder, and then you've got your vehicles, under your vehicles, I wouldn't go into the chassis folder, because this is its own separate entity. And I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call this locking assembly rod. And the reason why I'm going to do that is because this is going to comprise of 3 different pieces of material. So we're going to go into the locking assembly rod, and we're going to call this part dowel. It's as simple as it is. So dowel. I'm going to leave that part open, and I'm going to go file, new, and create a new part. OK. Now, one of the things that I neglected to do with the chassis was to apply material to the chassis. So you can apply different coloured materials or different types of timbers to the chassis, you know, so that you can see it from a different perspective. But anyway, we can deal with that later. No biggie. This time we're going to create the actual big piece of timber that they're referring to as the front bumper. So sketch. I just keep things simple on the front plane. As I said, once you sort of get a little bit more involved and you know which angle you're looking at from different perspectives, you know whether you want to draw it on the right plane or on the top plane or whatever. But I'm just keeping this simple. I'm applying the KISS principle. Keep it simple, silly. Well, you can keep it simple, stupid. Depends on how you want to go. But I don't like to call people stupid because I think we're all quite smart in our own unique ways. Which brings me to a point. I am a teacher and I am a tech studies teacher. And the other day I was in the workshop and had a young lad, and you know, he's writing a bit of a folio. And he's sitting there very puzzled, looking at his computer and looking at his PowerPoint, and he says, "I can't read or write, miss." I said, "Well, that's okay." And he goes, "Oh, no, I'm just stupid." I said, "I bet you're not." I said, "Just because you can't read or write," I said, "that's perfectly fine. I bet you are really good at something else." And anyway, I sat down with him and we worked through, we read out the questions and he told me the answers. So I helped him how to spell the answers out, which was great. And once he got through that theoretical part, it was ready for him to find some timber and to start actually making his project. And boom, straight away he knew. He had timber there, he was marking it, he was measuring it, he had the idea there in his head. Too young at this point in time to use the drop saw or any of the big machinery in the workshop, so he was asking me to go and do that for him. But he was on, and he was away, and I said, "See, I told you, mate. You might not be able to read or write on that level of things, but I told you, you must be really good at something." And he's really good at being able to have that vision of what he wanted to make, and off he went. So you're always going to be good at something, and focus on what you're good at. Anyway, beside the point. Well, it's not beside the point. I mean, it's pretty much, get your center rectangle tool. It's pretty much on the point. You know, like we can work hard and hard and hard all our lives to try and do and be what people expect us to be, but it might not work for you. So you've got to find what does work for you. Now, what have I done? Okay, so I've drawn my center point rectangle. The height of this is 54, is it? What have they done? Oh man, their drawings are so confusing. And this is no offense to American design and stuff like that, because obviously we're in different parts of the world, so we design differently. But yeah, this is not how we would read our drawings over here. Anyway, they've got this around the other way, so I want to actually just change this. If we can just change that to 54, change that to 12.5 for me, like that, and then make this one 54. Okay, it will kind of make sense in the long run, I'm hoping. Then from there, we are going to extrude that piece. Oh gosh, 6mm thick. This could be all around the wrong way completely when I sit there and try and put it all together, but let's go 6mm thick and green tick. So you can see that, like, you know, I actually do know what I'm doing here, but sometimes we have to question things that are put in front of us. Let's go back to our front view. Let's click on this front panel here, create a sketch. Now we're going to get our circle tool, and here's our origin. And because we did the center point rectangle, our origin is right there. Yes, this is where we want to do it. So we want to go center point rectangle, draw a circle, get your smart dimension tool, and the diameter of that dowel, if we remember, was 6. So let's make that 6. Now we extrude this timber 6mm. We want to be able to cut a hole in that. We don't want to go all the way through. I'm going to suggest we go 4mm for now. So that is 2mm in before it actually chops all the way through. And we're going to green tick. Okay, so we've got this piece here. So let's file, save to this PC. It is under our locking assembly rod. They have signified this piece to be called the front bumper. So let's call that piece the front bumper. And there's one more little piece of timber that we need to make before we can put this front bumper locking assembly together. So let's go File, New, Part, OK, Sketch, Front Plane again. Let's see if we can understand their drawing this time. We're going to draw a center point rectangle. We're going to smart dimension it. Now we're going to dimension it's going to be 9.5. It is going to be 2 mils thick. Okay, so 9.5 and 2 mils thick. And we're going to extrude this one at 38. So features and extrude to 38mm and green tick. Gee whiz, I hope this all works out. Alright, beautiful. Okay, so let's file, save to this PC, and we're going to call it front bumper, and we're going to actually, at the end of that, call it PT, so part 2. Boom. Front bumper part 2. And now we will assemble the locking assembly rod. So let's do that. So I've left all my pieces open, so we're going to go File, New, and we're going to create this assembly and click OK. Now the first thing I actually want in here is going to be the front bumper. That's going to be the piece that I want fixed in that assembly. We can chop and change that around later, and I'll show you how we do that. But I'm going to insert component up here. I'm going to click on this keep visible drawing pin, and I'm going to select front bumper and then bring my cursor in. Now I'm going to just flip this around a little bit on the y-axis because I just want it to sit like that in an orientation, and I'm going to left click to highlight it. I don't want this second one, so I'm going to come over and deselect it in the box. I want my dowel. When I bring my dowel in, see how it's sitting parallel with that. Again, I want to flip it on the y-axis so it can sit like that. Click. I don't need that second dowel, so I'm deselecting it from there, but I do want my front bumper part 2. Bring it in here. Now, I want this front bumper part 2. Looking at the way this thing works, it's actually going to sit on the bottom of this piece here. So I'm actually going to leave it in that orientation for now, and I'm going to click and green tick out of insert components. Now we know we've done how to insert the wheels and the axles, so we want to do the cylinders. So let's go to mate up the top here, and let's click on the outside of the dowel and the inside of that dowel hole. So now it's gone circle in circle. You'll see that it's already automatically chosen the concentric feature, so we're going to green tick that. Now I'm going to just left mouse button and drag that all the way out so that I can see the inside of this dowel hole. Here I'm going to click that round surface on the inside of that dowel hole, spin it around, click that flat surface there, and it has slid in place. Beautiful. Now, just if you want to pan this around, when you hold your scroll wheel down, you'll see it orbits. If you actually want to pan it across the screen, hold your control button down on your keyboard and then hold your scroll wheel down and move your mouse. So that's how you can make it pan around as well. Now, according to this bottom piece is going to attach to this bottom piece here like that. Okay, this is what the drawing's looking like. We are going to bring that piece level with the front and tick. Now, the drawing doesn't say it in dimensions, but when you visually look at the drawing, it looks like this piece is actually center. All right, so you can either do some sort of mathematical equation to center it, or over on the mate properties panel, you can see there's a few different mate options. And I want you to select the advanced option. And I want you to come down and we're going to select the width option. And what this is going to do, when we do that, it's got a blue box and a pink box. And the blue box is what are the two surfaces of the first part you want to make. So I'm going to turn around and I'm going to say, well, I want that surface on that side of that piece, and I want that surface on that side of the piece. So that's the first thing that I want the computer to calculate. Then the pink box becomes available for selection, and it says, well, what are the two surfaces that you want to find in the middle? So now I want to click that surface there, it turns pink, and this surface there, and it turns pink. And the constraint here says centered. So if I change that, you could see that I could actually give some other options, but I want it centered. So that is actually centered, and I'll green tick. Now, according to this book, that is the locking rod assembly, or the locking assembly rod. So let's red X that. Let's go file, save to this PC, and it is saved as an assembly, so we're going to call it the locking assembly rod. Boom, boom, boom. Hit the old save button. Oops, and soz about that. And we'll get back into the next one after.